It's grey and raining here in Plymouth. I don't know whether that's connected with the election result, possibly.
What, depressing, you mean?
Depressing, grey, cold, wet.
Right. Well, let's talk about that for a second and see how depressed we get. So here is Keir Starmer. This was him when he was giving his opening speech before the weekend. And as no change there, because we've got the double cross behind him, as usual. So just as long as we understand what the situation is. On Saturday morning, then, he held a cabinet meeting. And this apparently is practically a unique thing, because cabinet meetings never get held on Saturday mornings. The last time, I think, was for the Falklands War. But anyway, I thought we would...
They're happy, Mike.
Well, yes, aren't they? Yeah. Well, the double cross there as well, as you'll see, specially set up for this particular cabinet meeting. But I thought we would just listen to a few seconds of his opening sort of address to the nation.
Afternoon, and thank you very much for coming. Yesterday, the work of change began. We're a Change Labour Party, and yesterday we started the work of changing the country. And as the dust settles on Thursday's result, what is becoming clear for, I think, all to see is the mood of the nation, of the country, what is expected of us, and the mandate that we have to deliver change. It's a mandate not just to govern, although it is certainly that, but it's a mandate that has put trust in us to change the country and to deliver. And it's a mandate to do politics differently. And that change started yesterday as well.
So I don't know how many times you used the word change in the first 45 seconds there, but plenty of times. So let's have a look and see how much is actually changing here. So if we bring David Lammy on screen, he's the new Foreign Secretary. This government will reconnect Britain to build a better future, he said on Twitter. Great to have my first calls today with, and I wonder who the first person he was speaking to was. Well, it's Dimitri Kuleba, of course, and I believe that Starmer's first call, aside from Biden, if you could have a conversation with Biden these days, was to Zelensky. So it's pretty clear what's going on there. So that's foreign policy sorted out. So let's have a look at defence then. And here is our new Defence Secretary, John Healey. He was giving an address on Friday afternoon to the Armed Forces personnel and MOD civilian staff, which is very exciting for them, I'm sure. There he is with Radican, our Chief of the Defence Staff, looking good together. But the question is there going to be any change in defence policy? Well, this is a statement that John Healey made to the House of Commons just before the election.
Mr Deputy Speaker, the Shadow Foreign Secretary and I had one simple message on our visit, and that is the UK continues to be united for Ukraine. If there is a change of government after the election this year, there will be no change in Britain's resolve to stand with Ukraine, confront Russian aggression and to pursue Putin for his war crimes. And we told the Defence Minister, the Foreign Minister, the Chief of Staff to President Zelensky, the parliamentarians we met, this is our Labour guarantee to Ukraine. And that's why we've fully backed the government's increased military aid to Ukraine this year and for the years ahead.
So no change there. And that was a speech that he made in Parliament, having just visited Ukraine just before the election. And as soon as he's elected and made Defence Secretary, he's back to Ukraine to go and meet Zelensky and so on. So no change there. Then we've got, of course, the wonderful Yvette Cooper as our Home Secretary. I wonder what she was talking about on Twitter. Let's have a look. Well, 7/7 attacks anniversary was yesterday. So, we'll talk a little bit about that in extra. And she's also talking about border security. So they're going to ramp up border security. What this is all about is keeping everybody focused on illegal or irregular migration as opposed to regular migration, you know, because the smaller number is the one you've got to focus on, right?
And ID cards.
Absolutely. Then we've got our new Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves. She's been appointed. Now, what's her history? Well, as soon as she left university, she headed off to join the Bank of England, as you do. And then after that, she went to work for HBOS, She was a proponent of quantitative easing in 2009, but her big gambit is what she's calling securenomics. Does that make you feel secure?
No.
Well, securenomics is heavily inspired by Joe Biden's economic policy, it's particularly his Inflation Reduction Act. That should make us all feel very good. But they have guaranteed £28 billion a year for climate investment. So climate change policy is going to stay. But in the meantime, if she's Bank of England and so on, openDemocracy, highlighting, this is back in September last year, how big business took over the Labour Party. This is the changed Labour Party, of course, at least from Corbyn days back to the Blair days, I would suggest. And they reported that Reeves, alongside Peter Kyle, Wes Streeting and Yvette Cooper, received large private donations from wealthy financiers. But they do go on to say that there's no suggestion of impropriety, so you don't need to worry. No suggestion. They think that these wealthy financiers genuinely believe in policies that are good for their banker backers. So then, of course, we've got the whole Israel issue. Is there going to be any change there? Well, no, because in fact, if we go back to 2011, like Ed, we should all be friends of Israel. And making the point here that Rachel Reeves and a bunch of others, friends of Labour friends of Israel. In fact, if we go to the electronic intifada, they're pointing out that Labour friends of Israel hid the list of supporters just prior to the election because they didn't want this to be an election issue. But what they're saying here is that no less than 17 of Starmer's 31 shadow cabinet members, now cabinet members, the Labour MPs most likely to form the next government if their party wins the election, which they did, are on the most recent LFI supporters list. These include Starmer himself, as well as Rachel Reeves, Yvette Cooper and David Lammy, all three potential candidates for the so-called great offices of state, finance, home and foreign affairs, respectively. So Starmer may be planning lots of change for the country, but in the key areas of war and support for Israel, there'll be no change.
And support from Ukraine as well.
Yes.
Well, let's have a little look or remind ourselves at the power behind the throne. And what better place to go than the Tony Blair Institute and a vision for the future. So this was a little while ago.
I think we're going here. All right. You good? Which one are you? Am I here? Fantastic.
Well, this is a first. So, thank you very much indeed for coming. I'm really, really grateful. Thank you so much for the speech. Before we get on to the substance, how are you enjoying Prime Minister's questions?
I'm a bit out of practice.
But he's not turning up.
I haven't seen him for 3 weeks. We got one tomorrow, and then I think only 2 more before conference. So, I think you miss more than anyone else.
Yeah, that's something I really don't miss, you know.
Yeah.
Even now, wherever I am in the world, sort of midday Wednesday, I think I've got this uneasy feeling. Yeah, that's what it was.
But I think at least you moved it from twice a week into once a week.
Yep.
So that's only on a Wednesday at 12.
It's a small number of people who should be grateful to me, but they should be very grateful.
I keep reminding the Shadow Cabinet that back in the day, the Prime Minister used to sit on the front bench and choose which of his ministers would answer the question. Yes, so we could go back to that model.
Yeah, I mean, we never know what they're going to say, though. That's the thing.
So when I watched that clip, the two comedians were absolutely mocking Parliament, mocking their fellow MPs. And of course, Tony Blair very frightened of Prime Minister's questions because, of course, people were asking him why he went to war on a pack of lies. But aside from that, they don't value their MPs, so they're not credible and they can't speak and answer a question for the Prime Minister. So just mocking the whole institution in Westminster. Let's have a look at the second clip.
We have to get the mood of the country right because we have to speak to the country where it is now and not where we'd like it to be. And therefore it's a mistake to us to speak to the country as if it's 1996. We've got to speak to the country as it is in 2023.
Right, and they want a sense of realism.
Yeah. Reassurance. They want hope, of course, but the reassurance has to come first. Do you get it? Do you know how bad things are? Do you know how much I'm struggling? can you fix the immediate problem, and can you deal with the longer term fundamentals
Yeah.
that we need to fix?
I mean, I'm personally a fan of the 5 missions.
So there we are. He said he's going to judge the mood of the country. No, he's come straight in and told the country that he's going to change the country in all aspects. This man, in my opinion, is an extremely dangerous change agent. And of course, he's got Blair as his mentor in the background. So anything is possible. But let's have a look at a little bit more that's coming to the fore in the press at the moment. So this is iNews, why Keir Starmer and the King are the new power duo. King Charles and his new Labour Prime Minister have common causes. That's an interesting expression. Common causes close to their hearts. Is this the start of a strong coalition? Well, if we get into a little bit of the detail on this, basically they pick up that Sir Keir has been talking to Clive Alderton, the Principal Private Secretary to King Charles, and widely seen as part of a growing body of evidence that the monarch and the latest occupant of number 10 enjoy an unusually close relationship. So that will be of great interest. And if you haven't seen the Green King series on the UK column, have a look at it. Starmer has made clear Labour wants a green reindustrialisation policy, and that dovetails with that which the King has been saying. That's not my typo, since the late 1960s. So there does appear to be a meeting of minds on this. Now, what was interesting with this article is that it was based on this organisation, an interview with Limud, which I'd never heard of. And surprisingly, for a lot of the information, I have to go in the direction of Israel and the media in Israel. So this is the Times of Israel. UK Labour leader Starmer opens up about his family's Jewish traditions. Starmer claims that he did go to the Church of England when he was younger, but he now attends a synagogue. So I believe that he's Jewish, but I'm not sure. His wife is. But if we have a look at Limud and see what that's about, we strive to create individual, collective and communal experiences through which we develop and strengthen our Jewish identity. So this is simply about the Jewish community. And what it is the setting up of little cells of volunteers who help spread the Jewish message through their own and other communities. This is one gentleman here that I just happened to notice that he's currently president of Brennabrith, Cheshire. And this is of interest because that is another extremely powerful lobbying group. And they have been getting very unhappy that people are criticising Zionism, because you mustn't criticise Zionism in any form, because that apparently makes you anti-Semitic. And this is the statement here of the president of the organisation. If you don't know what it's about, I'm going to encourage you to have a look, do your own research, and you'll understand why that's a significant comment in a minute. But it's not a religious organisation, but one that exists to unite all Jews for the common good. And it's from the Children of the Covenant. It was formed in New York in 1843 by 12 German Jewish immigrants, but now it operates in 59 countries and has official status at the UN as an NGO and represented at the EU in Brussels. So immensely powerful. And what can it do? Well, it can send pretty strong letters to Keir Starmer himself in order to tell him how to deal with anybody they deem is anti-Semitic within Parliament. So this is huge pressure and being put onto the Prime Minister himself. Now, this is another organisation, the Anti-Defamation League, exposing the inherent anti-Semitism. Sorry, there's a couple of quotes from their website to just show what they're up to. So in his book, he's talking about an Israel lobby. They say it doesn't exist, but everything we're showing today demonstrates, in my mind at least, that it does exist. And so the ADL also educates Americans on the security challenges confronting Israel. So this is all about lobbying, and it goes on. They're talking about Iran and stopping nuclear Iran. And they're also here to address anti-Semitic and anti-Israel intimidations and schools. And of course, this is not just being done in the US, it's happening across the world. Let's look at this, though. They operate a database, and I spent some time having a look at it. If you are talking about any of these subjects, according to the ADL, then you are part of the hate and extremist agenda. So don't talk about the World Economic Forum. That makes you an extremist. Even to use your expression, do your own research, is apparently proof that you're connected with QAnon and extremists. It goes on here. Let's bring some more in. So people are identified: Gilad Atzmon, David Icke, American Free Press, London Forum, even the whole of Telegram, and anyone who mentions USS Liberty. So Mark, just very quickly, what's your response to American Free Press being identified as hate speech?
I guess I stand guilty because I just did a report on USS Liberty. And American Free Press had that as a long-time tradition. Guilty as charged in the ironic sense. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I'll go into it more if you'd like during Extra.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Well, certainly a lot to talk about. But let's have a look at this. If you dare to talk about these subjects, you're an extremist, according to the ADL. Turbo cancer, plandemic, scamdemic, or even mentioning that somebody died suddenly. And why should we really pay attention to this? Well, because ADL set up a conference, Never Is Now. This is the 2024 agenda. And if you go and have a look at speakers, well, surprise, surprise, we've got Dr. Albert Bourla, from Chief Executive from Pfizer, as well as Hillary Clinton. So don't talk about these subjects. Otherwise, you identify yourself as an extremist in the eyes of the Anti-Defamation League. It seems to me, Mike, that a small number of people are gaining great power by being able to bully and lobby the UK government to follow their policies and not the policies of the electorate. But we'll discuss that more in due course.
Yes. So